Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you're on the West Coast. I am Jessica Rackley, the Environment and Energy Program Director at the National Governors Association, and I sit within our Center for Best Practices. So we're the nonprofit, non-advocacy arm of the National Governors Association. This is the third webinar in a four-part series. The theme is equity. So we're going to be talking about advancing equity in the travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation sectors, specifically about projects that got American Rescue Plan travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation grants from Department of Commerce's Economic Development Administration, so EDA. And next slide, please. I wanted to provide a little bit of kind of background about the research that NGA is doing as part of this project. I'm joined by a couple of colleagues on the line. So Sally Rood, who's the Senior Policy Analyst within our Workforce Development and Economic Policy team. And then Evan Blankenberger, who's a Policy Analyst within the Environment and Energy team and works directly with me. But both Evan and Sally and I sit within our Center for Best Practices. We are the state policy consulting side of NGA. We have a research award with EDA's under their TTOR, Travel, Tourism, and Outdoor Recreation Program, and are looking into innovative best practices among state formula-based awards and competitive awardees in the travel, tourism, and outdoor rec space. So it's a 2-year project. We started last fall in October and are working on this project through end of September of next year. So have about a year to go, but have been looking into a number of different kind of innovative projects and practices out there. We've been doing a series of webinars. Our first one focused on resilience. Our second one focused on innovative workforce development projects. And this one, we're really looking at equity and just thinking through any kind of projects that seem very innovative in providing and achieving an inclusive, diverse, and equitable travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation space in the states and in certain regions. We're working on this project too with Oregon State University with their Center for Outdoor Recreation Economy, so CORE, and OSU is doing the economic analysis part of this project, and we're working with Dr. Randy Rosenberger over there. Next slide, please. So just for a little bit of background about these EDA, Travel, Tourism, and Outdoor Rec Awards, there was $750 million available under the American Rescue Plan, and they went to U.S. states and territories on a formula basis, and then a number went to competitive projects that applied. This is a 2-year kind of research project that we're doing. This first year, we're identifying 12 really innovative kind of travel, tourism, and outdoor rec projects across the country and the territories. And then we'll be sending out in January of 2024 specific research survey to all grantees to collect economic data and evaluate these projects. And we're currently doing 2 qualitative phone interviews based on the details of certain projects too. Next slide, please. So we have on our website, so we work with, specifically Evan and I work with Governor's Outdoor Recreation Advisors. They typically sit within the Governor's office or a state office of outdoor recreation. Sometimes they can be in a travel tourism arm or Department of Commerce. But we have on our website a specific place devoted to these webinars that we've been doing. I mentioned our first one was focused on resilience that we did in March of this year. Our second one was focused on ones that and workforce development programs. And then this one's really focused on equity in the travel, tourism, and outdoor rec space. And I provide the link to our website where we have all the recordings and slides from these presentations. And we will be recording this one and posting it to our website in the same place and sharing out the slide deck. Next slide, please. So today we have 3 great projects, and I will just talk a little bit about what we thought was innovative in the equity space. But first, we're going to be hearing from the state of Pennsylvania, which they're advancing equity in the TTR sectors through a number of projects through their formula-based award, including the African American Heritage Story Project, diversified marketing and messaging, and diversity, equity, and inclusion training programs for industry stakeholders in the state. Then we'll be hearing from Sean Lawrence from the Lummi Nation, and they're investing in an online marketplace for artisans and craftspeople to sell their wares, enabling their community members to reach more consumers. And lastly, we have a great project that we'll be hearing from the National Ability Center, located in Park City, Utah, and they're using their TTR funding to provide a number of outdoor recreation related equipment and programs for people with disabilities. And first off, I will turn it, and just for kind of quick, how to, if you have questions throughout this webinar, we're going to take questions of this presenters at the very end. But as questions come up, if you would feel free to drop them in the chat. And in the last 10 minutes or so, we'll have time for these questions, and I'll help facilitate and make sure that the presenters are aware of the questions that are coming through. So with that, I will turn things over first to Carrie Lepore, who's the Deputy Secretary of Tourism with the state of Pennsylvania, and Michael Ciappelloni, they'll be kind of tag teaming on the Pennsylvania presentation. Next slide, please. And then one more. Thank you.
Certainly. Well, I will kick things off and give some higher level details on the plan that we put together. We really saw the funds as an opportunity, one that doesn't come around all that often. But as Jessica noted, Pennsylvania received $17 million as part of that formula-based grant from EDA as part of the American Rescue Plan. We can go to the next slide. Next slide. Okay, there we are. Yeah, so again, the 17 million, and it really aligned with EDA's goals, aligned with our goals every day, and that is to, fuel the economy through travel and tourism, and doing all that we can to invite people to come and experience Pennsylvania. And really, the 17 million gave us amazing opportunities, and we can take a look at those that we divided into 3 separate areas on the next slide. So the travel industry had 2 needs. The country really had 2 needs as far as travel and tourism. And the main one was to get more heads in beds, to get the traveling public traveling again. So we wanted to make a concerted effort and take an opportunity to invest more money in paid advertising than really Pennsylvania has had in a very long time. Our budget is without these funds, would hover around $9 million, and really $5 million of that was used for paid advertising. So a big we were at a competitive disadvantage with our neighboring states, our competitive states, as far as paid advertising goes. So one of the things that we wanted to do is develop a cooperative marketing and advertising program. We made those dollars available over the course of the term of the grant. So that those 10 million has been going directly into paid advertising through the co-op program, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But then really the reason we were invited here today is the 6.8 million in new initiatives for messaging product development to capture greater market share. That's one thing that Carrie, who will present next, has been dedicated to ensuring, all those who are stakeholders, is that this is a competitive decision, but it's also one for capturing greater market share to grow the pie. And then also we had portioned $250,000 for an outdoor ambassador program run through our Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for, as we all experienced explosive growth in outdoor recreation. So they are working diligently to create a program where their frontline people are ambassadors to the area that they are welcoming tourists to. So we can go to the next slide. So our big dream, Carrie and I have been with the office now a couple times, but we both came back, as we say, in 2015. And one of our main goals at that time was to create a cooperative advertising program. But at the time, our office budget was about $2.1 million. So that was not something that was possible to do in a robust fashion. And that's one of the things that the 17 million and then the 10 million that we dedicated to cooperative advertising really became a possibility. We opened it up to our destination marketing organizations. We have 51 in Pennsylvania, and also our industry associations. An example of that is a ski association, the Campground Owners Association. So we are matching 100% and sometimes even 3 to 1 those that are investing in our program. We've had more than 1.1 million in paid media, generating 257 million ad impressions and 166,000 website clicks. These are slightly older numbers, and we're just starting our fall co-op program right now. So we have made sure that it is provided seasonal opportunities. So some partners may participate more in the summer, some are more winter destinations, and some their strength is in the fall, which is beautiful here in Pennsylvania. So we can go to the next slide. As I noted, like prior to the EDA funding, it really wasn't an opportunity that we could offer our community. And it has allowed so many more DMOs to participate. We have an entry point of just a few $1,000s, all the way up to those that have entered at more than $100,000 in a given season. And we build a custom program that allows them to best target their audience. So I think with that, we can turn it over to the next slide. One more, okay, yes. So here's just some more stats on all that has been made possible through the co-op program. Again, millions of dollars in market, more than ever before, not ever before, but more than a decade since there's been this kind of money in market to promote Pennsylvania. And we've never had so many partners involved. So 29 separate campaigns, which is we're really proud of, that will run, as I said, like the summer is the peak time for that money to be in market. But there you can see some of the higher level numbers, and 108 million ad impressions, 14 destination marketing organizations, and 1.3 million website clicks. The numbers just keep going up as the program grows. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carrie Fisher-Lepore.
Thanks so much, Michael. Next slide, please. So it's pretty amazing that in 2023, we are still asking this question and expecting an answer, but why focus on diversity? So increasing the volume of Black and other non-white travelers, as well as those with various ability levels, sexual orientations, et cetera, to Pennsylvania will have a significant impact on our economy. And of course, it's just the right thing to do. Pennsylvania's demographics, like many of you listening right now, are becoming more diverse. Many of your states, I should say, are becoming more diverse, with the most recent census 2020 showing that the white population in Pennsylvania is shrinking while other populations are increasing. The Lehigh Valley in the southeastern part of Pennsylvania had the fastest growing Latino population in the country. So positioning Pennsylvania as a welcoming state to people of all backgrounds and orientations will improve our image, and also increasing the number of diverse travelers and ensuring that they have a good experience will have what we call in the industry as a halo effect. So we're not only going to be lifting visitorship, but we're also going to be driving business development, talent attraction, real estate sales, purchase of second homes, and even college recruitment. Next slide, please. So we set out a very ambitious goal that I know, we cannot exclusively claim. A lot of our colleagues in other states have done fantastic job of, marketing and putting together fantastic programs, not just for the African American community, but for a whole host of people of all different backgrounds. But we are planting the flag in the ground to say that the Pennsylvania Tourism Office has set a very ambitious goal to make Pennsylvania the nation's leader in African American tourism. To accomplish this lofty goal, we've developed a plan to expand tourism products centered on Black history and culture, and also improve the quality of experience of Black visitors to Pennsylvania. We are also moving forward with other diversity initiatives, which include Hispanic and LGBTQ marketing using the EDA funding, but we're also trying to take a more holistic approach. And this is something that I haven't included in here. I'm just talking off the cuff right now, but this grant has encouraged us to take a more holistic look, that maybe these specific EDA funds are being used very specifically for an expanded African American tourism program, for marketing to the Hispanic, LGBTQ communities as well. But this kind of gave us the encouragement and the push to move forward and expand those that we are talking to, and specifically putting welcome, laying the welcome mat to all different people of different backgrounds, including the AAPI, the community, the Indigenous community, and other people outside, including accessible travel, which is going to be a big focus of ours moving forward as well. Next slide, please. So to quickly walk you through how we're going to accomplish each of those three goals, we're going to start with our product development. So we are so thrilled that Pennsylvania is home to the first two in the nation HBCUs, historically Black universities and colleges, with both Lincoln and Cheyney right here in Pennsylvania. And we are so blessed to be able to partner with Lincoln University to help us build out this African American Black tourism experience. So we're going to be working with them to build out partnerships, identify existing assets, and map existing assets. But what's really exciting is that we're going to be developing new product to help build that catalog of experiences surrounding Black history and culture right here in Pennsylvania. And to help focus us, we've settled in on several different themes or buckets, whatever you want to call them, that we're going to be working towards. So history is one of them. Underground Railroad. Pennsylvania has tremendous Underground Railroad heritage and sites in Pennsylvania, so that's as a standalone bucket in addition to history. We're also going to be exploring our foodways, sports. Pennsylvania is home to two Negro baseball leagues in both Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. We also have great sports heritage in Pennsylvania. We are a sports state, so we have some wonderful untold stories to tell there. And then also arts and culture. Arts and culture is going to be probably one of those buckets that I'm most excited to really lean into. We have the renowned, famed author, poet, playwright August Wilson. So we're going to be telling stories of August Wilson. We're going to be talking about Gamble and Huff and the Sound of Philadelphia. from Philadelphia with music. We have Bayard Rustin, who was a leader and Dr. King's partner in the March to Washington. So we're going to be telling the story of Bayard Rustin, who is from Pennsylvania, and there's going to be a movie documenting his life coming out soon. So the timing is also right. So we're really thrilled to invest $2 million in this part of the initiative. Next slide, please. So hopefully you can see as I'm going through all of this, how all of these different pieces are going to be fitting together. So we are creating new product, new stories, new experiences for people to come and enjoy. So now we have to actually tell people about them and market all of this. So we have always, Michael and I have always gone out of our way to make sure that the pictures and the stories that we are currently telling are diverse and representative. We believe that representation matters and have really been very deliberate in the faces that we feature in our current marketing campaigns for the past 8 years. But we also recognize that we need to be more specific and we need to be more authentic. So we've allotted $3.8 million. It's probably going to be about $3 million when all is said and done, to go out and work with different vendors and marketing and creative firms to help us shape a marketing campaign to reach these different audiences. Our office, in full disclosure, looks a lot like Michael and I. We are not as diverse as we need to be. So we want to make sure that we have the voices and authenticity at the table when we are crafting these new programs. So we are looking to work with and getting ready to release an RFP. If anyone knows of anyone who's interested, please follow up with us afterwards. But we are looking to release an RFP to work with marketing agencies to put together campaigns to speak specifically to the Black African American audience, to the Latino audience, as well as the LGBTQ audience. We're going to be starting there, but we'll be looking to expand these campaigns moving forward. And then finally, we're coming around the basis. Next slide, please. So we realize that if we are specifically extending that welcome mat, if we are looking to bring people of different backgrounds and communities into Pennsylvania, that we want to make sure that they feel that Pennsylvania is ready to fully welcome all of these different communities and folks. So if we are placing ads in Baltimore, as an example, I want to make sure that family, as a mother myself, that family, that Black family from Baltimore who's going into the north central part of the state here in Pennsylvania, that they feel seen, that they feel respected, that they feel safe. So we are going to very soon, we're just waiting for the ink to dry, going to be announcing another partnership we formed with academia here in Pennsylvania to help us create training modules for DEI training for our tourism industry, really focusing on those frontline workers, those that when you go to the hotel and you walk in, how you're being welcomed by the front desk staff, when you go to a restaurant with your family, to make sure that everyone in that restaurant is making you feel safe and welcome and wanted and appreciated. We are asking people to come to Pennsylvania and not just invest their money, but invest their time with us. So we want to make sure that it's a positive experience all the way around. This training that we're putting together, fingers crossed, is also going to come with some sort of accreditation so that we're really going to try to encourage those workers and employees to go through the training and then feel like they got some value out of it that they could then put on their resume and take with if they were to leave and go to look for another job. And then we're also just going to do some high-level training as well for the industry, for a bunch of our colleagues in the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation who runs our welcome centers, for our Historical Museum Commission who has a bunch of historical properties throughout the state, as well as our destination marketing organizations who have not gone through any type of DEI training. We believe that we need to go through the training as well and make sure that we're using the correct words, we're using the correct terms, that we are being unbiased in our offerings as well. So that is $1 million is going to be invested in that initiative. I told our NGA friends before we got started that I am a fast talker naturally, and I just like zipped through. We have one more slide, I believe. And finally, I want to give a shout out. I believe our colleague Nathan Rigner from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Nathan serves as our very first Director of Outdoor Recreation. We are so thrilled and pleased with our partnership there. I know that he participates in a lot of these webinars. So Nathan, I'm sorry to steal your thunder if you are on the call, but we did put aside $250,000, as Michael previously shared earlier in our presentation, to create an outdoor ambassador program. We work hand in glove with our friends at DCNR and are looking forward to working with them to make this outdoor ambassador program really come to life and be meaningful as well. So I hope there's some good questions that came in, and I definitely look forward to answering all of them. Thank you so much to the NGA for having us. This is a really, really awesome opportunity, and we really thank you.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Michael. It's great to hear about what Pennsylvania is doing. And I haven't noticed if Nathan's on or not, but we'll talk to him during our next Outdoor Recreation Learning Network call. But next slide, please. We'll move on to Sean Lawrence, who will be talking about the Lummi Nation's competitive based award. And just to kind of as a heads up, we already got one great question in the chat. If you can keep dropping any questions you have for the presenters in the chat feature, we'll hopefully have about 10 minutes at the end. Thanks. Sean, off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Ait Squile, good day. Salmachton, Sanasnat. My name is Sean Lawrence. I'm the Director for the Office of Economic Policy at the Lummi Nation. We at the Office of Economic Policy applied for the competitive allocation of the Travel, Tourism, and Outdoor Recreation grant in 2021 as to further the Lummi Indian Business Council's mission. The Lummi Indian Business Council is the governing body of the Lummi Nation. They are the elected officials that serve the Lummi Nation community. Our mission is to preserve, promote, and protect our Sherlingan, which is our way of life. And so being able to apply for and receive this competitive EDA funding furthers that mission. More specifically, in the Office of Economic Policy, our mission is to analyze, plan, implement, and administer government economic policies and actions necessary for increasing the standard of living of Lummi tribe members and improving the sustainable economic health of the Lummi Nation to preserve, promote, and protect our Sherlingan, our way of life. And so, our office has been undertaking the annual update of our comprehensive economic development strategy. And so being able to apply for travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation uniquely fits within our sets. And so we're able to utilize our project list and our goals and objectives within the sets to put together an application that responds to the needs of our community. During the pandemic and even before, our community was asking for a central location to set up shop. What we mean when we set up shop is to have a location for our artisans, our craft makers, to sell their arts and crafts to the larger community. And so we responded to that by having a vision for what's called the Lummi Vendor Marketplace. The vendor marketplace will be a multi-use facility that is estimated to be 9,000 square feet, and it would include space that for vendors to set up that will have doors that roll up, also a commercial grade kitchen, some office space, so that we can better support our Lummi small businesses. And so we were able to, go through the contracting process, and we recently issued a RFP and are in negotiations for securing a contract for the design and engineering of this facility. The facility is going to be located on the Lummi Reservation on our northeast boundary of the reservation at the intersection of Slater Road and Ferndale Road. And that location is already utilized, and it's only seasonal. The seasonal use happens during the summer, which is our fireworks. And so we are going to be working with our fireworks committee, who are made up of the fireworks stand owners, to ensure that the placement of our facility and the uses of the facility do not conflict with their use of the property. And it is our goal to not only achieve our mission, but we want to increase the quality and the quantity of small businesses on the reservation. And so being able to have a location for our community to set up shop, to lease out, and utilize to sell their arts and crafts is key to achieving that mission. And we anticipate that in the next 2 years, when the facility is finally constructed, that our vendors will have a place to call home. They will be able to network with each other. They will be able to set up when we have large events. Nation currently hosts annually the Lummi Stomach Water Festival. And each year we have a canoe journey landing at the Lummi Reservation. And the last time we hosted the canoe journey was in 2019, where our office supported not only Lummi vendors, but also other travel vendors that were seeking to sell their arts and crafts, their food services to the canoe families and our visitors that came to our region. Those two are large tourism activities that happen in our area. They're not the only ones, though. Each winter, we host a winter festival at our casino, and we seek vendors, primarily Lummi Travel members, to register and set up shop at the casino in our event center. That is a makeshift location for our vendors, and our office proudly sponsors that event in conjunction with our culture department. And so in the next few months, we will be asking our community to register for that event. And then we will also be getting media out to the larger community to come support arts and craft vendors at that event. And then it is our hope that with the construction of the Lummi Vendor Marketplace, that each season and each large event we'll be able to host our vendors at that location. And then it will also spur and support the creation of the Lummi Chamber of Commerce. The Lummi Chamber of Commerce is something that we have been envisioning for years, and with the construction of the Lummi Vendor Marketplace, we will be able to have a consistent, reliable meetings location for our small businesses to network with each other and the larger community on the issues that they're facing, the opportunities that are going to be available in the next few months or quarters once those events are held. The Lummi Nation is comprised of nearly 5,400 members. And as of the last quarter, we have about 183 registered tribal businesses. And in our database in the Office of Economic Policy, because we issue the business licenses, we're able to see the types of industries that our businesses are engaging in, whether they be Lummi tribal, other tribal, or non-tribal businesses that are doing business on or with a business in the Lummi Reservation. And so with that data, we're able to garner support and further activities to grow these businesses, not only in their health, but that amount. And so we're also going to be partnering with what's called the Lummi CDFI, the Community Development Financial Institution, and another initiative that will increase the access to capital for our businesses. And so we anticipate that the Lummi Nation small businesses that will be setting up shop at the Lummi Vendor Marketplace will also be able to seek business coaching, financial support from the Lummi CDFI. And there's again, this activity would to be to support our mission, which is to preserve, promote, and protect our shilling. And I'd like to close off with Haishka, which means thank you.
Thank you, Sean, so much. And I know we've gotten a lot of good questions in the chat, including someone that had just mentioned that they love, the idea for your project. So I want to move on to our last speaker. If you'll advance just one more slide, please. I'm going to hand things over to Katie Cook. She's the Grants and Development Manager at the National Ability Center, and she'll be talking about their project. And I know a lot of projects are kind of in the initial phases or kind of initially and kind of helping develop kind of partnerships and work through developing the project. But it's interesting, Katie, they've already kind of used a lot of the EDA funding, and she can talk through specifically what they're doing for folks with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Cook with National Ability Center. So we received $371,678 from EDA, little over, I'd say almost 2 years now, 2 years ago now. And we received this funding specifically towards equipment and also staffing. And so we offer adaptive recreation programs, which my colleague Tracy will get more into in a minute. We offer adaptive recreation programs for people of all abilities. And so in order to run these programs, we need a vast amount of equipment. And so that's where EDA came in. This is great to increase our ability to run these programs. We received everything from ski bikes and trailers and a small bus and SUV. And so we're able to shuttle people around to different programs with this equipment and run more programs with these equipment. A little under half of our participants come from out of state. So we have national reach. So we are a big tourism hub in Park City, Utah. And we bring in folks from all over the country. And about half of our participants are local to Utah and local to our community. And we have constant groups coming in from all over the place. So this was great to increase our tourism efforts as well. And specifically for folks with disabilities. To give you kind of more of a rundown of what exactly we do and how these pieces of equipment came into play, I will pass it off to our Programs and Education Director, Tracy Meyer, who's on this call. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. And another thank you from us to support efforts of diversity and inclusion. We can go to the next slide, please. Serving people with disabilities has been something that we've been doing since 1985. If you click one more time, you'll have our mission statement pop up there. Thank you. And I think that is important to note of disability is truly a natural part of the human experience. And when we recognize that and provide education that way, it really goes across all of the locations that people have been presenting on this call and across our country, with 1 in 4 Americans having a disability, whether that's visible or invisible. So when you take a look at our mission statement, while sports is a huge part of it, it is really about living your best life. And so that comes through participating in sports and social activities, being involved in your community, having a seat at the table to represent disability. And so our programs are about that, of building confidence and helping people to take their next step in their journey to living their best life, living with a disability and the family members of those with disabilities. Next slide, please. Yeah, we can stop there. That's perfect. You saw this slide of people, which I do think is important to note of how we serve people with disabilities. So we are so lucky to be on a 26-acre ranch in Park City, Utah, as well as our satellite program in Moab. So 2 huge locations in our state that bring in people from all over. But we truly can't do it without people, and the funding that we received from the EDA to support and us having staff to implement programming, to be able to build the relationship, to gather all of the training information and knowledge about disability. How do we utilize the equipment? How do we support someone who does not use verbal communication? How do we support someone that needs to be guided, who has a visual impairment? Those are all things that our staff are learning, and you have provided us the opportunity to bring on more staff to make that happen. So how we serve, important to note that it's all ages and all abilities. So typically our youngest is about 3, and I've had the pleasure of being here for 21 years. So the oldest that I'm aware of is 103, I'm pretty sure, was the oldest that we had come to our programs. So recreation for all. And we do that serving our locals, as Katie mentioned. 30% of who we serve are those that have served our country. And so that is individuals who live here locally, as well as groups that will travel and come stay in our lodge on campus for 3 to 5 to 7 days. And so being able to adjust our goals and to be able to meet the goals of each individual here is what we think is such a huge benefit. So it could be introduction to recreation, or it could be finding a mentor or someone else who is going through that same journey, who's been recently diagnosed with a disease or illness. So individual lessons I've seen people for the past 21 years. So no one has ever kicked out of our programs, which is a really amazing part of community-based programming and being a resource for people. So some of the equipment we received, if you don't know, if you can imagine how much adaptive equipment costs, we have bikes that we have purchased that are close to $40,000 for one bike. And so a barrier to recreation can be the equipment, it can be the financial impact. And so having the equipment here that people can come and try and figure out what is the right fit for them helps them to then be independent, which is our ultimate goal of empowering individuals. And so we serve people in that way too, from an educational component. We'll go to the next slide. So taking a look here, this is giving you kind of our umbrella of our different departments that oversee programming. Ultimately, we have over 20 different programs that we offer. So Katie and I like to tell people there's really something for everyone. There's no excuse. You don't have to climb to the top of the wall, or you don't have to ski down the steepest slope, but you can come and hike with us. You can come and do yoga. There's just such a wide variety, and the benefits of recreation for every one of us on this call are so important, but even more so for people with disabilities to be able to have a part of. And that's truly what we do at the National Ability Center. When you take a look at the different departments up here, there is one that says community-based. And I think this is an important piece too of how do we take the community of the National Ability Center and provide opportunities for introduction to job skills, and how do you how do you help individuals with disabilities become comfortable in a work environment, advocate for themselves, know what is available. And we do that through our community department, which has an internship specifically for people with disabilities and a lifelong engagement program for individuals to have a social connection, as well as a group to go out in the community and enjoy everything that Park City and the surrounding areas has to offer. We can go to the next one. So taking a look at this from that tourism component, if you haven't been here, please come and join us. Recreation in Utah is pretty amazing. To have the mountains down to the desert, and for us to be able to have the equipment and the resources to be able to provide to people with disabilities what those without disabilities have is what our true goal is. So we run 6 different river sections. We are mountain biking all over the state and figuring out how to make Utah accessible, which is part of our mission as well on education, is looking to help to develop trails that are usable by all, and not segregating people with disabilities, but building a trail that is beneficial for Katie and I to go ride our bikes on, along with our friends who use adaptive equipment. So that is part of what our mission does, and part of the equipment that we receive from this allows us to get out there and educate trail builders and our community of how we can recreate together. Next slide. So Katie talked about our impact a little bit, and these are, I like to say, hot off the press numbers. We just wrapped our fiscal year, and this past year we were able to serve, as you can see, over 5,000 people came to the National Ability Center to enjoy our programs and to accomplish their individual goals, which allowed us to provide 30,000 experiences. So that shows you that people aren't just coming for a one-time experience. The benefits of repeat experiences, of trying additional programming has a huge impact. You can see our visitors coming from a lot of different locations. And then we certainly think it's important to highlight our volunteers. As a nonprofit, while we do have paid staff, we cannot do what we do without funders like you and our local community members coming to help us implement programs and to really make their program inclusive, right? So we have people with and without disabilities recreating together. Another barrier for many people in recreation is the cost of recreation as a whole. And so we're really lucky to help to raise funds and to have community members and grantors who support us in a scholarship opportunity, so that when someone has the inability to pay, we can support them with a scholarship. So again, no excuse, because now we have really amazing equipment, really amazing staff, and now we have funds to say, yes, you can come here and we will help you figure out how to be as independent as possible, thanks to our donors. Fine. I'm not sure how much time we have. I think, talking through this, DEI, when I've said disability a lot, and I think that's something to think about. Sometimes if this isn't a population that you're comfortable with, terms come, to people's heads of challenged or disadvantaged, or, lack of resources. And our goal is that we can flip that script and have people know that, one, disability isn't a bad word. As I said before, it's a natural part of the human experience, and people with disabilities have the right to recreation, and there's dignity in that. And that is what we want to help spread across this country. And to be honest with you, internationally, is that everyone should be treated with that dignity and respect, and thinking through that if you're not impacted by disability now, if it's not a part of your life, it will be, as it is the one demographic that we can all join. And so for us and our organizations and businesses and communities to think about what can we do to make sure we are including people with disabilities. We'll build stronger communities, more connected communities that will be able to support you now or your loved ones in the future. Next slide. So we've talked a little bit about this, so we can skip past it, but recognizing from the National Ability Center side, visible and invisible disabilities. So I mentioned 30% of those that served our country, another 30% of who we served are those who fall into that neurodiversity category, and then truly everything in between. We have a group that's been traveling here for 28 years from Chicago that are going through cancer treatment or in remission. And so we are talking physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, mental health, PTSD. If someone needs adaptive equipment or adaptive instruction, this is the place for them. Next slide. So to us, through the staffing and the equipment that EDA has supported us through, these are the quotes that we are getting from people of what our programs do. So living a life with purpose, giving people freedom to be able to be in the outdoors and connect with friends and family. Next slide. When we talk about accessible recreation or adaptive recreation, it provides the opportunity for people to go all the way into the backcountry and to see, you know, everything else that those of us that don't have a disability are able to see. Next slide. And this is what we think about when we think about recreation: is wind in your face, ripping it up, skiing the trees. It should look it should look freeing, and it should be something that people are connected to, not, you know, and really able to celebrate our differences. Next slide. And next slide. Photos say a lot, we feel like. We can go to the next one as well. So here are some photos that Katie has put together regarding some of the equipment that we have received. So if you look at we'll kind of go here off our bus up there. So getting to the locations and accessible vehicles is important for us to get people out to our lake or down to Moab, which is about a 4-hour drive for us. So having a vehicle that supports individuals to be as independent as possible in transporting is huge. And so that is what that bus provided for us. In the right-hand corner there, one of our staff members, Abe, is on a recumbent bike there, which can support individuals with balance concerns and mobility concerns, but it also allows them to get a really amazing workout, right? Which is what we want to have happen, is for people to continue to use what they have. And so this is a pedaled specific bike, but if you can see up there, there's a headrest there. So it allows us to support individuals that maybe do not have some specific coordination or function that they need additional support with. And this bike allows us to have that. And we talked about vehicles, so I'll talk about the ski bikes down in the left-hand corner. They look really fun, and they are really fun. The ski bikes are utilized for individuals who have core and mobility concerns. Many of our veteran-based population who aren't able to weight bear the entire time will use a ski bike. It has a really fast progression in teaching and has the ability to ski the entire mountain. So it brings in that independence quite quickly, but also allows someone to, you know, test their limits and ski all over the mountain. You can go to the next slide. So we thank you so much for your support. Our goal is to maintain high quality programming, to be able to have the best innovative equipment that provides independence, and that people know about the National Ability Center. So we hope that you will share about us. You'll come out and visit us. We'd love to chat with you more and continue to be a resource in educating about inclusive-based communities and recreation.
Thank you, Tracy and Katie. It sounds like an amazing kind of, your work is just very interesting. I want to come out and visit you all, and the pictures look awesome. But I want to jump around to some different questions we received, and I'm going to jump to try to get one in the last 5 minutes to every speaker. But I know one of the first ones came in for Carrie and Michael from Pennsylvania, and they were just asking about like what are kind of the efforts being made to include tribal or indigenous populations in the travel, tourism, outdoor rec efforts in Pennsylvania.
Yes, so thank you for that question. So unlike some other states, Pennsylvania currently has no tribal lands or federally recognized Indian nations right now. So some of the tribes that existed in Pennsylvania at the time, and I have this written down and I'll tell you why in a moment, but some of the tribes that existed in Pennsylvania at the time white settlers arrived became considered either extinct through disease or violence, and the remaining tribes were removed to other states in the 1800s. But with all of that said, we especially couched in so many of the states right now around the nation are planning for the country's 250th birthday, the semi-quincentennial. And in Pennsylvania, a lot of planning has already commenced. And as we're doing the planning, we realize we cannot tell the story of Pennsylvania without including the story of our indigenous communities. So we are incredibly lucky that Lehigh University has an Institute for Indigenous Studies. And we just signed the contract and we're going to be doing a press announcement in the next few weeks, so please don't tell anyone. But we're going to be announcing that the Appalachian Regional Commission has granted us some funding to partner with Lehigh University and their Institute for Indigenous Studies to help uncover the stories or the lesser known or lesser told stories of our once upon a time Indigenous communities here in Pennsylvania. And one of the things that they're going to be doing is working with some of those federally recognized nations that were relocated to other states like Oklahoma. So I do not have a 3-point strategy yet of exactly how we're going to be accomplishing this work, but we are going to be kicking it off momentarily. We have the funding for the first phase of this through the Appalachian Regional Commission, which we are so incredibly thankful for. And definitely more to come. Hopefully, the National Governance Association will have us back soon to share a little bit more of that story as it unfolds here in Pennsylvania. Does that hopefully answer some questions?
Sure, I think that was helpful, Carrie. I will go to a minute because I know we're running out of time. Go to a question for Sean. And there's a question that came in, will comment that they love your project and the idea of a central kind of location for artisans and makers. And then they're wondering maybe how the tribes can work with states on maybe a statewide kind of model. And just for clarification too, you are, the Lummi Nation is located primarily in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest, correct?
That is correct, Jessica, and my apologies for not including that in the project description. So yes, we are located in the Pacific Northwest. We are the northernmost tribe in Washington State. We are 15 minutes from the Canadian border. But you know, the way that our tribes work in Washington State is each year there's what's called the Centennial Accord. And so that's where tribal leaders meet with the governor of the state to discuss issues, discuss projects and progress that's made as far as implementation of the Centennial Accord agreement that was entered into between tribes and the governor of the state. More specifically, the state recently supported the recreation of the tourism board. And so Washington State is identifying a need to increase tourism in the region. And so they are engaging with tribal communities to really determine, you know, the approach and needs of our communities to increase the amount of tourism visitors that are coming, but also the dollars. And so that also requires input from our indigenous communities, our tribal nations in Washington State. And so that is an ongoing effort that we are undertaking.
Thanks, Sean. And I know we're right at time, so I think I will, we'll send out to the presenters just the other questions we weren't able to answer. And if you all have thoughts and such, then we can send it around to all the attendees. One quick thing for Pennsylvania as we're closing out, there are some questions about the DEI training, and when that would become available and cost potentially.
Yes, I just dropped into the chat my email address. So if anyone wants to check that out and has additional questions, we are finishing a service contract agreement with one of our universities here in Pennsylvania. I really am a wee bit hesitant to like mush it and announce who it is before it is finalized. But again, please feel free to definitely reach out in the next few weeks, and I would love to provide any kind of information.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
I've earmarked $1 million. I'm sorry, just for the cost. It's not going to be $1 million. We've earmarked $1 million for our training, though. I apologize.
Great. Well, thank you, Karen Michael from Pennsylvania, Sean, Lawrence representing the Lummi Nation, and then Katie and Tracy from the National Ability Center. We will be sending out, once it's posted on our website, the recording and the slides, and we'll also follow up with all the speakers regarding any kind of questions that we weren't able to answer, and we'll send out those questions and responses that we get back. Thank you all for joining us. And then just one more slide. If you have any questions for us or any kind of comments or ideas for the last webinar that we'll be doing on the EDA travel, tourism, and outdoor rec grants in December, please reach out to Evan on our team, which is just his first initial, last name, Blankenberger @nga.org. Thank you all.